Most Christians who are falling into hell right now aren't going there for adultery, theft, or murder. They're going there for a sin they commit every day, kneeling before the altar, hands raised in worship, Bible open on their knees, a sin so subtle it's mistaken for devotion, so deceptive it's baptized as faith, and so deadly that Jesus himself called it the reason why many will say, "Lord, Lord," but he will answer, "I never knew you." My name is Remedios Villalobos. I am 45 years old and live in Guadalajara, Jalisco. For 18 years I served the Lord with every ounce of my energy, or at least that's what I thought. I was baptized at 16 in a Pentecostal church downtown, where I grew up hearing testimonies of miracles and promises of prosperity. My mother directed the women's choir. My father attended every Sunday without fail. From a young age, I knew my life belonged to God. I married Heriberto at 23. A hard-working man who sold auto parts and loved the Lord as much as I did. We had 2 children, Lisandro, now 22, and Susana, 19. Both grew up in the church memorizing scripture, psalms, attending Christian camps, serving in youth ministry. For 20 years I worked as a receptionist at an accounting firm in the American colony. My job was to answer phones, schedule appointments, and file documents. I earned enough to help with household expenses, but I always knew God had something bigger for me. Since I was 17, I dreamed of having my own architecture studio. I drew blueprints in my notebooks during breaks. I studied design magazines in my free time. I took night classes in technical drawing while working during the day, but the money was never enough. The dreams always had to wait. My life revolved completely around Christian service. On Mondays, I coordinated the intercession prayer group, where more than 30 sisters met to cry out for revival. On Tuesdays, I visited elderly people in nursing homes, bringing words of encouragement and Bible passages. On Wednesdays, I led the Bible study for young women at my home. On Thursdays, I rehearsed with the prophetic dance group, where I had served for some time, 12 years old. On Fridays, I prepared lessons for the children's Sunday school I taught every weekend. On Saturdays, I participated in street evangelism in the main square, and on Sundays, I spent the entire day at the Lord's house, from the morning service to the evening service. I wasn't just a Sunday Christian, I was a devoted servant. The sisters came to me when they needed spiritual guidance. Leaders asked me to pray for important ministry decisions. The pastor said I was an example of what it meant to hunger for God. I fasted 3 days a month, consuming only water and prayer. I read 4 chapters of the Bible daily without fail. I had memorized over 200 verses. I religiously tithed 10% of my paycheck every 2 weeks. Even when the money barely covered groceries, I gave generously whenever there was a special need in missions or construction. Outwardly, my Christian life was impeccable. Inwardly, there was something I never dared to truly examine, something I justified with Bible verses, something I mistook for genuine faith, something that millions of believers carry exactly as I did. While they sing hallelujahs and declare promises, everything changed on Tuesday, October 11, 2024. For months I had been experiencing a dull ache in my chest that would come and go for no apparent reason. As a receptionist, I spent hours sitting at my desk, and I thought it was just bad posture or work-related stress. Besides, I had too many responsibilities at the church, too many people depending on me, too many commitments to keep. The pain was probably just gastritis or nerves, nothing serious, until it became unbearable during dance rehearsal. We were practicing a choreography for the church's anniversary when I felt like my chest was splitting in two. I almost fainted right there. The sisters had to hold me up while they called an ambulance. I was taken straight to the public hospital. The diagnosis was acute myocardial infarction, severe obstruction of the coronary arteries. I needed immediate emergency intervention or I could suffer a fatal cardiac arrest at any moment. Herbert rushed to the hospital. I called the pastor, asking her to organize a prayer chain. I notified the sisters in the intercession group. They all assured me they would be praying, that God was in control, that everything would be all right. I was calm. After all, I had served faithfully for 18 years, I knew my eternal destiny. If anything went wrong, I would go straight into the Father's arms. The procedure was scheduled for 10 p.m., standard cardiac catheterization, they told me, placement of stents, arterial unblocking, quick recovery. I would be home in 5 days, back at work in a month, back to my responsibilities at the church before I knew it. The medical team was experienced. The protocol was safe, everything was under control. I woke up briefly in the recovery room around 1 a.m., groggy but conscious. Herberto was there holding my hand, smiling with relief. Everything had gone perfectly, he told me. The STs were in place. The doctors said I was lucky to have arrived when I did. A few more hours and it would have been fatal. I went back to sleep thanking God for his protection. On Wednesday morning, something was terribly wrong. I woke up with a brutal tightness in my chest, sweating profusely, unable to breathe properly. The pain was not normal. My heart was beating erratically. The nurses called the cardiologist. They examined me, said it was a common post-operative reaction, and gave me stronger medication. They assured me it was a precaution, but I knew something was very wrong. Extremely bad. By 4 p.m., my blood pressure had dropped dangerously. I couldn't stop panting. The pain was so intense that he could barely speak. Finally they did new studies. Acute coronary thrombosis, new massive clot. Something had gone wrong in the initial procedure. More thrombi had formed. My system was crashing. They needed to do emergency open heart surgery, remove the clots manually, save what they could. Herberto was terrified. I had never seen him like this. My children came running from the university. Alessandro was in shock trying to stay strong. At his dinner, he couldn't stop crying, hugging me. They were both there when they took me to surgery. I saw their faces full of panic. I saw the pastor running in to pray. I saw the sisters filling the waiting room. The surgery began at 9:43 on the night of October 12th. I remember the anesthesiologist telling me to count backwards from 10. I remember getting to 6 and then I remember waking up in a place that was not a place. But before that there was something else, something that doctors officially documented, something that would forever change everything I thought I knew about salvation. At 11:17 p.m., as the surgeons struggled to remove the clots, my heart stopped completely, total cardiac arrest. The monitor showed a flat line, the alarms sounded. The team began immediate cardiopulmonary resuscitation, epinephrine, electric shocks, violent chest compressions. Herberto heard the blue code from the waiting room. My children hugged each other crying. The pastor began to pray out loud. 22 minutes, 22 full minutes of certified clinical death. No pulse, no breathing, no cardiac activity. The doctors were about to declare time of death when my heart gave a weak beat, then another, then an irregular rhythm that gradually stabilized. Impossible, they murmured. 2 minutes is too long. The brain damage would be catastrophic. If I survived, I would be in a vegetative state, but I was not in that operating room for those 22 minutes. I was somewhere else. I saw things that no human being should see. I heard truths that demolished 18 years of religious security, and I came face to face with the reason why millions of Christians are falling into hell at this very moment while reading their Bibles and singing their hymns. The first thing I felt was the void, not a normal void, but the total and absolute absence of anything that could be considered existence, as if the entire universe had been erased. Then came the feeling of being torn away not only from my body, but from the entire reality, from everything I knew as life. And then I was standing, although I had no physical form, that they sold outside the basilica, nor the one in the Christian movies, nor the one in the stained glass windows of the church. This Jesus was a consuming fire. His eyes burned with an intensity that made me instantly understand why people in the Bible fell like dead when they saw him. Why did Isaiah cry out that he was lost when he saw the Lord? Why did John collapse at his feet like a corpse? His presence was absolute weight, pure terror, incomprehensible love, perfect justice, all at once. When his eyes fell upon me, every mask I had worn for 18 years simply evaporated. Every performance, every pretense, Every self-deception vanished like mist in the sun. I was completely naked before him, not physically, but in a far more terrifying sense. Every thought I had ever had, every secret motivation, every hidden sin, every hypocrisy I didn't even dare admit to myself, all were laid bare. Remedios, he said simply, just my name, but in that name was contained my entire life, every second of 45 years, every decision, every word, every attitude, everything. Lord, I cried, falling face down to the ground, because for the first time in 18 years of calling him that, I truly understood what that word meant. It wasn't a religious title, it wasn't a song title, it was the acknowledgement of absolute authority over everything, including me. You called me Lord, he said, and infinite sadness in his voice shattered my soul. But you never let me be Lord of your heart, you only used me as a provider of your desires. I don't understand, I whispered, confused and terrified. I served you faithfully, I dedicated my entire life to you, I did everything the Bible teaches. Come, he said, extending his hand, I will show you something you need to see. The space around me shifted, and what I saw next absolutely destroyed everything I thought I knew about who is saved and who isn't. It was like looking at millions of screens at the same time, but being able to understand every detail of each one with absolute clarity. I saw countless multitudes, millions upon millions of people, all dressed as devout Christians, all carrying Bibles under their arms, all with expressions of sincere devotion on their faces. They sang hymns I knew by heart, they raised their hands in passionate worship, they preached eloquent sermons from pulpits, they led in-depth Bible studies, coordinated ministries that impacted entire communities, organized international missions, fasted with discipline, prayed fervently, tithed faithfully, served tirelessly. But something was horribly wrong. As I watched this immense multitude of seemingly faithful believers, the ground beneath them began to open up. It wasn't fire, it wasn't the lake of sulfur I had imagined, it was an absolute void, an eternal nothingness, a bottomless abyss that represented complete separation from God, and millions of Christians began to fall into that void, still clutching their Bibles, still singing their praises, still crying out, Lord, Lord, still reciting verses from memory, but falling endlessly. Why? I cried out in despair. They believe in you, they serve you faithfully, they do your work, they live consecrated lives. Jesus looked at me with a pain so profound it seemed capable of shattering the universe itself. Look deeper, Daijo. With that voice that pierced to the very core of my being, and then I could see into their hearts. What I saw filled me with an absolute panic that I cannot describe with human words. I saw Pastor Eloisa Campusno of a megachurch in Monterrey who preached about God's promises every Sunday to 6,000 people. Her ministry had grown exponentially for 11 years. She wrote books on divine faithfulness. She organized conferences on biblical prosperity, but in her heart, every prayer was a transaction, every fast was an investment expecting returns, every tithe was a heavenly bank deposit. She never worshipped God. She worshipped what God could give her. When she received blessings, she prayed for 3 hours a day. When she went through spiritual dryness, she barely prayed for 15 mechanical minutes. I saw Brother Abundio Zavala, leader of the men's ministry for 19 years at a Baptist church in Puebla. He had organized spiritual retreats that transformed hundreds of men. Thousands of people had been touched by his teaching, but every request he made in prayer was for himself. He asked for healing when he was sick, for provision when he needed money, for protection when he was afraid, and for guidance when he faced decisions. He never sought God's face simply to know him. He only sought him when he needed him for something. He treated the Lord like a spiritual emergency service. He only called when there was a crisis. I saw Sister Perpetua Gallardo, a Sunday school teacher who taught the children with passion and dedication. Her class was the most popular in the congregation. The children adored her, but Perpetua kept a mental list of every request she had made to God. New house granted, job promotion granted, healing for her mother granted, husband for her daughter granted. And when God didn't answer as she wanted, when she asked for something and it didn't come, she would secretly get angry. she would stop attending church for a few weeks, give less, and serve with resentment. Her relationship with God was purely transactional. She gave to receive, served to be blessed. She prayed for answers, but these were unknown to me. Then, my God, I began to see faces I knew personally, people from my own church, close friends, and what I saw made me want to disappear from existence. I saw my dear friend Casilda Bermudez, with whom I had served side by side in the women's ministry for 14 years. Casilda led the intercession group with me. We organized spiritual vigils together. We prayed for each other weekly, but in her heart, every word of prayer was a negotiation. 18:26. Dios, si te me das trabajo, entonces yo ayunaré más. Dios, si te sanas a mi esposo, entonces servirán misiones. Dios, si te me prosperas, entonces de más ofrenda. Nunca amo a Dios, amo los beneficios de tener a Dios. On his side, I saw Brother Placido Renteria, the church treasurer, who managed the finances with impeccable honesty. His integrity was legendary in our congregation, but Placido tithed expecting financial multiplication. He gave offerings calculating heavenly returns. He served accumulating treasures in heaven as an investment for eternity. He never gave out of love, he always gave expecting to receive more in return. Then Jesus quoted his own words, and every syllable pierced me like a fiery sword. They were not looking for me because they saw signs in me, but because they ate the loaves and were satisfied. John 6:26. This is not poetry, remedies, hyperbole, or a suggestion for advanced Christians. It is an absolute spiritual law, as real as gravity, as certain as death. Whoever seeks me only for my gifts has never truly known me. Whoever prays only when they need something has no relationship with me, but with my blessings. Whoever serves expecting a reward does not serve me, but themselves. But, Lord, I said, trembling violently, we have all asked for things in prayer. No one can love God without ever needing anything from him. It's impossible. He drew closer, and his nearness was a mixture of glory and terror. It's not that they can't, it's that they don't want to. They confuse legitimate need with disguised greed. They transform prayer into a catalogue of demands. They turn worship into spiritual bribery. They sing to me to soften me up. They praise me to manipulate me. They fast to pressure me. They tithe to buy me off. They serve to impress me. And when I don't give them what they demand, when my plans don't align with their desires, they abandon me. They stop praying. They stop attending church. They stop serving, because they never loved me. They only loved what I could give them. Then he spoke the words that completely destroyed me and changed my eternity. Now, remedies, look into your own heart. The instant he uttered those words, memories began to flash before me with painful clarity and perfect detail. I saw every prayer I had made for 18 years, thousands upon thousands of prayers, and with utter horror, I saw the pattern. Each one, absolutely every one, was a request. Lord, give me the architecture firm. Lord, provide the money for the premises. Lord, send the clients. Lord, bless my business. Lord, multiply my income. Lord, open doors. Lord, close doors. Lord, give me signs. Lord, give me confirmation. Lord, give me, give me, give me, give me. I remembered exactly what happened 2 years ago, after 18 years of faithfully tithing, after generously giving, after serving tirelessly. I had finally saved enough to rent a small space and open my architecture studio. I took it as a direct answer from God to my years of faithfulness, as a divine reward for my service, as the fulfillment of the promise he owed me for being so devoted. The studio started well. For the first few months, I had a steady stream of projects. I earned 3 times what I made as a receptionist. I tithed joyfully because God was keeping his end of the bargain. I prayed for 3 hours every morning, giving thanks for the blessing. I served at church with more enthusiasm because God had finally rewarded me. But after a year, business began to decline, clients dwindled, projects were cancelled, bills began to pile up, and my prayer life changed drastically. I went from 3 hours a day to a hurried 20 minutes. I stopped reading the entire Bible and only looked for verses about financial promises. My prayers became desperate. Please, Lord, you promised me. Lord, I have been faithful. Lord, I have tithed. Lord, you owe me this. When business didn't improve, when God didn't answer the way I demanded, I began to secretly grow angry. I kept smiling at church, kept singing in the dance group, kept teaching Sunday school, but inside I was furious, resentful, disappointed. I felt like God had failed me after all I had done for him. Then Jesus showed me something that shattered me. He showed me the times I had truly sought him just to know him. The times I had prayed without asking for anything at all. The times I had worshipped him without a hidden agenda. I expected to see years of genuine devotion. I saw 3 occasions, 3, in 18 years of Christian life. Only 3 times did I seek him solely for him and not for what he could give me. Do you see the problem? He asked with that voice full of infinite sadness. You tithed faithfully, but it was an investment expecting heavenly dividends. You served tirelessly, but it was work expecting divine reward. You prayed fervently, but it was negotiation, waiting for concessions. You fasted with discipline, but it was pressure, waiting for results. You knew everything about me, but you never knew me. You memorized my words, but ignored my heart. You did everything for me, but nothing with me. Then I'm doomed, I whispered. 18 years wasted, a lifetime of deception. He didn't say, and there was deep hope in his voice. Now you're seeing the truth, and seeing is the first step to truly living. I'll give you another shot at remedies, not because you deserve it, but because I want to use your story. Millions are exactly where you were, singing as they fall, serving as they die spiritually. Someone must warn them, someone who knows the deception from within. Come back, tell everything, hold nothing back. And then, like turning on a candle after total darkness, I was back. The pain came first, pain in my chest, in my throat, in every part of my body. Then the voices, many voices speaking simultaneously. She's responding, there's brain activity. Mrs. Villalobos, can you hear me? I slowly opened my eyes. I was in intensive care, machines everywhere. Heriberto holding my hand, crying like I'd never seen him before. You were dead. It's me, Osaba. 22 full minutes. The doctors said it would be impossible, severe brain damage guaranteed, but you're here, you're talking, it's you. For 4 days I told Heriberto and my children everything, every detail of what I saw, every face, every revelation. I wept, confessing how I had treated God like a blessing dispensing machine. Heriberto wept with me. I always knew, he admitted, when business was good, you prayed happily. When business was bad, you barely prayed. Your relationship with God depended entirely on what he gave you. Today, 1 year and 3 months later, I share this message with desperate urgency. As you read this, thousands of Christians are dying around the world. Most are going straight to hell, not for scandalous sins, but because they never truly loved God. They only loved his gifts. They treated the creator of the universe as a heavenly provider of earthly desires. Examine your heart right now. When was the last time you prayed without asking for anything at all? When did you worship simply because he is worthy and not because you needed something? When did you seek him solely to know him and not to receive blessings? If you can't recall those moments, you never had a relationship with God. You only had religious transactions with a divine provider. My name is Remedios Villalobos. I died for 22 minutes and discovered that 18 years of Christianity didn't save me because I never loved. I only loved what God could give me. Jesus sent me back to warn you. The clock is ticking. Seek him today for who he is, not for what he can give you, because tomorrow might be too late. Yes. Send feedback.